inventory, to actually turn the inventory on, we need to go to Items and Inventory. Again, we can see we have the My Preferences tab versus the Company Preferences tab. And we can see right now that the inventory and purchase orders are active. It's not selected. So all we need to do is simply select the inventory purchase orders are active. This gives us a whole bunch of other available fields now. And we'll just go ahead and hit OK. So we get this warning pop up that lets us know that it just needs to close all open windows to make this preference go through. So we're going to hit OK. It's going to go ahead and close all the open windows, and now we have inventory turned on. So the first thing we need to do is we need to set up some of our items within the company file so that we can track our sales, we can see how much inventory we have, we can see everything that's going on with our inventory. So if we go to lists, and then if we come to the item list, we can see this is where we can see our inventory. Now currently, the only two inventory items that are set up are the total sales non-taxable and the total sales taxable. So to create a new inventory item, the first thing we would want to do is to right click and go to new. Once we do that, we can see that the different types are now listed off to the left, and we can select what type of inventory item or part we're creating. And this could range anywhere from a service to where we're going out on location and we're simply providing man work to fix something. Maybe it's a heating or an air conditioner or something like that that isn't working right. We can send out a service technician. We bill by the hour for the time that we're there. That would be a service item. Let's say that maybe that heating or air conditioner broke and it needs a new part, and we need to track that part. Well, then that would of course be an inventory part. And this would show us essentially how many of those parts we have in stock. And if we had multiple locations turned on, we could see what location has that inventory in stock and how many they have. So we'll go ahead and we'll just create our first, we'll just make a widget for simplicity. And if this was a sub item, so let's say that we had a master widget and all these other widgets fall underneath this master widget, we could separate them so that we could break that down even more if we wanted to. This can literally be as granular as we like. So it's not going to be a sub item. So it's not going to be a sub item. If we needed to, we could go ahead and track the manufacturer's part number for this item. So what we would need here is if our manufacturer had a part number from this that was different from our item name or item number, we could put that here and then we could track that manufacturer's part number relative to what we call it. If there was a unit of measure, we could enable that here. Unit of measure really comes in to play whenever we're trying to sell things by maybe length or volume or weight. So if we had a 100-foot piece of rope and let's say we sold it for 50 cents a foot, we could set up a unit of measure that breaks that 100 foot and then we could sell it by the foot essentially. So it would be 50 cents a foot. Let's say we sell, I don't know, 6 feet. That would of course be $3, and we can set that up to automatically calculate so that we're not having to do math in our head. Underneath that, we have the description on the purchase transaction. So this will display whenever we're essentially buying it from the vendor, so whenever we're on the bill. And then we have a sales description. And this can be completely separate. So it'll be a different description on the customer-facing invoice. So maybe we have a description for it whenever we purchase it, but we have a different description for whenever we sell it. So we can have those two different descriptions set up per item if we wanted. Next, we have the cost of the item. So we'll say that this widget is $5. And we'll say that we sell this widget for $7.50. Then it's going to want to know what our cost of goods sold account is. It defaults to our COGS account, which is cost of goods sold. And then if we had a preferred vendor for this widget, we could set that up here. And we could add Big John's Vendor Emporium is our preferred vendor for this. Then it wants to know what the income account for this item is. So what are we actually making? Where do we want this money to go that we're making on this item? Well, that's where we can set up our income account, and we're just going to do merchandise sales for now. So that anytime we sell one of these widgets, the income goes into merchandising sales and the cost of this goes into cost of goods sold. Then at the bottom we have a few other features. So if we have an asset account that we need to track the current inventory asset, so our cost is $5. If we brought in 10 of these, our asset would be $50. We currently have $50 sitting in our warehouse. We can set a reorder point minimum. So if we said that if we ever got down, let's say below 5, we need to order more. And we can set a max on that to 50. So QuickBooks will warn us if we get below 5 that, hey, we need to reorder this. And we can do it in a way where we automatically create purchase orders, but it will not exceed a maximum of 50. So it'll warn us if we're below 5, it'll warn us if we're above 50, but it won't ever talk to us as long as we're in between those two numbers. Here we can set the on-hand quantity. Currently it's 0, so we're just going to leave that at 0, and the total value is still 0, so we're going to leave that there. Again, off to the right, we have custom fields. This again is just letting us know that we have custom fields. So if we select this, this is where we can track individual labels for items. So let's say we wanted to track the color or the length or something like that that just doesn't come standard in the regular QuickBooks. We could add that here and we could track that on a per item basis. So we'll go ahead and hit OK. And we'll hit OK again. And then we can see this is our item. So we'll go ahead and just hit OK here, and we can see that our widget pops up here. I'm going to go ahead and create a new widget for us real quick, just so we have a couple of them to work with. I'll create another inventory part. We'll call this one widget 2. And we'll say there's no manufacturer's part number. We'll say that this widget costs us $15. And let's say that we sell it for, I don't know, $25. We can set up our preferred vendor again to be Big John's. We can set up our income account to be merchandise sales, and then our inventory asset account here. And then if we wanted to set up minimum or maximum reorder points, we could do that here. All right, so we have another poll here for us. It's going to be, which accounting software are you currently using? This just helps us gauge kind of where you guys are at and what we need to do to try to improve. All right, so we're going to go ahead and select OK. And now we have our widget 1 and our widget 2. So now that we have our items set up, we're kind of going to go through the AP workflow so that we can kind of see how vendors and items tie together. And we can see here, this is our total quantity on hand. This is our on sales order. This is our price. And then if we had like a picture of these widgets or anything like that, we could associate them here. These columns are fully customizable across the top, so that if we didn't want to see what was on a sales order, we can right-click anywhere on the list, and we can go to Customize Columns. And these are a list of columns that we can see here. So let's say that we didn't care about on sales order, so we can remove that from the right, and then let's say we wanted to see maybe what the COGS account is, or what the manufacturer's part number is. If we were tracking that, we could simply select that, hit Add. And then if we wanted to move it up, so essentially whenever it adds it, it's going to be at the very end column over here to the right. Let's say that we needed it to be right next to the description. We could move it up, and now it sits next to the description, so it's going to go right here in between description and type. So if we hit OK, we can see here it is. It's gone right in between description and type, and these columns are completely adjustable. So if we don't need that much room, we can simply slide them down. So next, we're going to go ahead and get into the AP workflow a little bit. So if we close out of this, again, I'm just going to hit Escape to bring us back to our main window. And if we ever wanted to see the home screen, we could simply select Home on the left, and that will bring up our home screen here. So next, we need to create a bill. So we need to say that we have ordered something from Big John's Emporium, we've received it, and now we need to receive it into our inventory. So the way that we would do that is we would enter a bill. So on the bill screen, we can see here that we have a place for the vendor. So we'll go ahead, and we only have the one, so we have Big John's Vendor Emporium. All of the address information is auto-populated, and those terms that we set up previously are auto-populated into the terms list as well. We can set a reference number, so typically this will be whatever the bill's reference number is. So we'll go ahead and make one up. The amount due,